Top 10 Deadly Pandemics of the Past. A pandemic occurs when a disease turns into a global outbreak. The deadly virus is affecting people all over the world. It is causing countries to close their borders, urge people to stay indoors, and order businesses to cease operations. However, this isn't the first time that a pandemic has affected so many lives at once. In this list, we'll check out some of the deadliest pandemics of the past. Leprosy, aka Hansen's disease, is a slow-developing bacterial disease that can lead to damage of the nerves, skin, eyes, and respiratory tract. The Russian flu, aka Asiatic flu, was a deadly influenza pandemic that killed approximately 1 million people around the globe. Only 4 months later, the influenza had spread throughout the northern hemisphere. Just like the first two pandemics, the third originated in India and spread throughout Asia, Europe, North America, and Africa. During the third cholera pandemic, about 1 million people lost their lives. British physician John Snow tracked cases in London and identified contaminated water as the cause of the transmission of the disease. For centuries, smallpox was a menace in Europe, Asia, and Arabia. The first European explorers brought the virus to the New World, where people were not immune to the disease. The people of modern-day Mexico and the United States saw death rates much higher than those of the Old World. In North and South America, smallpox took approximately 100 years to destroy about 90% of the indigenous people. The Antonine Plague occurred in 165 to 180 and ultimately took the lives of about 5 million people. In the 20th century, the second major influenza pandemic was the Asian flu of 1957, aka the Asian flu pandemic. At the beginning of the Asian flu pandemic, the virus spread throughout China and the surrounding regions. Just 3 months into 1958, the United States had estimated that nearly 70,000 deaths were linked to the Asian flu. A deadly outbreak of the bubonic plague started in China in the 1330s. By 1347, the Black Death had arrived in Europe after several infected ships docked at Messina, a Sicilian port. Just 5 years later, the plague had killed over 20 million people in Europe. The Black Death is widely believed to have been caused by Yersinia pestis bacteria. The disease mostly spread to people from the bites of infected rats and fleas. In 1855, during the Shanfeng Emperor's reign of the Qing dynasty, the third plague pandemic began in China. This deadly bubonic plague eventually traveled through India and Hong Kong, killing at least 12 to 15 million people. This was the third major bubonic plague outbreak to hit European society. The deadliest flu pandemic in history started in 1918 and infected about 1/3 of the world's population, or approximately 500 million people. 10 people who were the patient zero of a deadly epidemic.